Hello everyone and welcome back to the lecture series for the preparation of your CLAT examination. In this particular lecture series, we are discussing about the important aspects of the various legislations that has been often asked in your CLAT examinations. So far, we have completed with the majority of the legislations. We have completed the Indian Contract Act. We have completed the Constitution. We have completed the criminal laws. We have also completed the family laws. We have discussed the Hindu law, the Hindu Succession Act, and the various major amendments that are required when you prepare for your CLAT examinations as such. So apart from that, we have also started with international law in our previous lecture series. In the previous lecture series, we discussed about what exactly is international law, what are the parts of international law. We studied that international law. If we talk, the international law has been particularly divided into two portions, one being the private international law and other being the public international law. When we talked about the public international law, we talked about the laws that is being governing the state relations, the state relations. And when we talk about private international law, these are the laws that is being governed in municipal areas. Municipal area means within the nation. Within the nations, that are the areas which is being governed are called private international law. So we have studied about a lot of important aspects while we were studying about international law. We studied that what exactly is the difference between private international law and public international law. Then we studied about who actually is called the father of international law, how the international law actually evolved from starting from the European Roman time period, where which Westphalia we actually discussed and talked. From that point of time till the creation and the formation of the United Nations organizations, and what exactly led to the formations of United Nations organizations after the World War II and the World War I and World War II. That is actually what we have discussed so far. In the current lecture series, we are going to discuss about the important areas which is in relation to the parts of the United Nations. So these are the things that we have studied. We have studied about the treaties. We have studied about Vienna Convention. We talked about Universal Postal Union. Then we studied about the what is exactly United Nations and how the United Nations actually came into being. We discussed about the 51 members who have been a part of United Nations. Then we talked about who is exactly, what exactly is the role of a permanent observer. Then how many languages are there? Perhaps it's very important when it comes to your preparation, when it comes to CLAT examination and such. So this becomes a very important point of discussion, that how many languages are there, what exactly is the flag. So all these are factual informations, but still these factual informations are actually very helpful for if we talk about CLAT examinations as such, that these examinations of always tend to ask you factual questions more, and then obviously analytical questions and observational questions will also be there. So it's important and it's very it's necessary that we discuss and we try to understand the different organs of the United Nations also, because United Nations, if we talk, that it is not only that we are going to discuss the brief idea of United Nations, but we have to deal it in detail. The reason being, when you talk about the United Nations as such, the United Nations are actually the main organization when you talk about the different treaties that has been formulated between the different nations. United Nations is perhaps the main organization who are actually working and forward in order to provide peace and stability throughout the nations. So we need to understand the different organs of the United Nations as such, and that is what we are going to discuss in our current lecture series. So let's start and let's try to understand the very first organization of United Nations. And if we talk about that, what is the name of that organization is, the name of the organization is General Assembly. So when we talk about General Assembly as such, so General Assembly is that organ for United Nations where all members of United Nations, taking a total of 194 members, which includes all the major states, all the major countries that are there, whether it is India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Russia, France, England. Every country whomsoever is the part of United Nations are the member of General Assembly. Okay. Now, so when we're talking about the total number of members, so the total number of members of the United Nations is not 194, it is 193. And the last country that joined the United Nations was South Sudan. South Sudan. It is an important portion. It is point to be noted here. It is a factual information that might be helpful for you when you're preparing for a CLAT examination. That South Sudan was the country which was given the last, who has joined United Nations as the 193rd member of United Nations, and this was held in the year of 2011. So if you can see, since 2011 to till 2023, there has been no other country which has joined the United Nations as such. But if you take the whole countries as such, the whole world as such, so majority of the countries whomsoever are there has been a part of United Nations organizations. So when you talk about the members of United Nations organizations, that how many members are there, so there are a total of 193 members under the United Nations Organizations General Assembly who are being represented by their members. The members have representatives who've been elected by the countries as such, and those members are sent to the United Nations where they represent the country from where they are coming. So this is the main purpose of General Assembly, the General Assembly organ as such. When we will be discussing about the important aspects, or if we rather say, if we'll discuss about the important organs, it becomes very necessary and important to understand the United Nations Charter also. And when we talk about United Nations Charter, you will find mentions under the different articles, the different organs of the United Nations, and what exactly is the functioning, what exactly is the composition, what exactly is the role of that particular organ. And we will be understanding all the organs in detail. But right now what we are going to do is we're going to summarize that what exactly is the brief understanding of United Nations organs, so that once we go in details, you are able to grasp the knowledge and understanding as to why this organ has been created and what is the role of this organ at large. Moving forward, let's try to understand the second organ of the United Nations, that is the Security Council. So if you can see, the very first Security Council's meeting was like this. They were around the permanent members were there, the non-permanent members were there, and this is how the Security Council of the United Nations just looks like. So let's understand what are the brief facts about it, because it is important for you to understand the brief facts also. If you talk about the headquarters is in New York. Important point for you to remember. Very important, because when you talk about the headquarters, they've been often been asked in your CLAT examination. So you need to remember the headquarters. And then it consists of how many members? It consists of 15 members, each of whom has one vote. Okay, so Security Council has also been given the authority that they can vote. So there are total of consists of how many members? There are total of 15 members, each of one have one vote. There are 5 permanent members. There are permanent members and 10 non-permanent members, for elected for a 2 years term by a 2/3 majority of the General Assembly. The permanent members have the power to veto any move, and the retiring members are not eligible for immediate re-elections. So this is an important portion for your CLAT examination point of view, that headquarters is in New York. Total members 15. Everyone has been given one vote. There are 5 permanent members, 10 non-permanent members, and they have been elected for a term of 2 years. Who? The non-permanent members, by a 2/3 majority of the General Assembly. So if there are 193 members, so 2/3 majority of this 193 members will choose that who will be the non-permanent member of United Nations Security Council. Question for you as your homework is whether India is a member of Security Council or not. If yes, then whether it is a permanent member or whether it is a non-permanent member, that is your question for your answer. That is your question, and you need to figure out the answer for the same. Now, one question that might have been put up in your mind, and you might have been thinking about that, what exactly why is it so that that there are only 5 permanent members and not more than that? The answer is simple. When the World War was actually going on, at that point of time, these members played a very important role uh, during the World War. And so often they've been called P5, that is the permanent 5 members of the United Nations Security Council. And perhaps that is the only reason they have been given permanent status, because of their involvement in the World War II. So that is why they have been given the prominence or primary position in the General Assembly, the Security Council. So this is important for you to remember. The important facts has been discussed. Let's move forward. Let's try to understand another points of Security Council. The presidency of the Security Council is held from a 1 month period in rotation by the member states in the alphabetic order in their names. Important for you that who is going to have presidency. The permanent members of the United Nations are China, France, Russia, USA, and UK. Another point. The non-permanent members are Austria, Japan, Mexico, Turkey, and Uganda, all until now. This information has been updated, and now the members has been changed. So your work is to figure out that who all are the non-permanent members of United Nations Security Council. It is your homework so that you can understand that who all are the members of Security Council. Now, what is the role of the Security Council? The Security Council is responsible for international peace and security. Any nation, irrespective of its membership in the United Nations, can put forward its problem in front of the council. The Security Council can suggest a peaceful solution or may use force to restore peace. So this is the major work of Security Council. If you talk about the major work, this is the major work of Security Council. Now let's move forward. Now this is another organ of the United Nations, that is the Economic and Social Council. We are just discussing the brief facts as of now. The reason being, once we have understood and gathered the brief facts, then at that point, after understanding the brief facts, what we will do is we will go in detail and understand the organs in a crisp, clear, and crystal manner, so that you can correlate it, that what exactly we have understood through the factual information that has been mentioned, what exactly is the source of that information, and what are the other important points that one has to keep in mind whenever we are talking about United Nations organizations. So now when we talk about Economic and Social Council, that is ECOSOC, this is the short form of Economic and Social Council. Then it has 54 members and is responsible under the General Assembly for carrying out the functions of the United Nations with regards to what? So it is the work of the ECOSOC, Economic and Social Council, is to have research, education, and other matters in relation to economic, social, cultural, education, health, and related matters. So Economic and Social Council is going to represent the United Nations. So United Nations is going to conduct surveys and study and researches, conferences, etc., in relation to economic areas, international economic areas, social areas, cultural areas, educational areas, health areas, and other related matters. And this will be done by ECOSOC itself. It has its headquarters, where the headquarters is located. It is again located in New York, and its members are elected by 2/3 majority in the General Assembly. 1/3 of the members are elected every year to serve for a period of 3 years, and 1/3 of the members retire annually. So you understood that 1/3 of the members will be elected every year and they will retire post 3 years. Okay, after completion of their tenure of 3 years, and then 1/3 of the members will retire annually. So the remaining 1/3, okay, so there, if you talk about 1/3, so there will be total, if you talk about 1/3, 1/3 of whole of 1. So 2/3 will still be there. So the 1/3 who will be elected will serve a period of 3 years, and out of this 2/3, there will be 1/3 members who have completed their tenure of 3 years and now they will retire every year. Understood? So this is the whole process of the election and the nomination, and the headquarters is located where. The work is what exactly? This is the work of ECOSOC. This is the headquarters. This is the election process. And this is the total numbers, total members. I suppose you have understood what exactly is the main goal of ECOSOC. Now, moving forward, the following are the Council's regional economic commissions. So, what exactly are the commissions that has been formed? The names are mentioned here. You can just read it out. Although not important, but yes, sometimes the question might be asked to you that the Economic Commission for Latin America and Caribbean, is related to which of the following organs of the United Nations? There will be 4 options that will be given to you. The correct answer will be the Economic and Social Council. Now, let's talk about the Trusteeship Council. The Charter of the United Nations provides for an international trusteeship system to safeguard the interest of the inhabitants of territories that are not fully self-governing, okay, and which may be placed there under individual trusteeship agreements. The Trusteeship Council has its headquarters in New York. Okay. The membership to the Trusteeship Council includes the 5 permanent members of the Security Council plus those nations who administer trust territories. All of the original 11 trust territories have become independent or joint independent countries. The council is presently inactive as there is no trust territories left anymore. So now the Trusteeship Council's work is almost over, because now every country has developed and they have by themselves, either they have merged together and they are serving by themselves, or they have the agreement has completed. So the work of the Trusteeship Council is perhaps almost over, but it is still in actions. It is in force that once if there is any situations as such that one country is not able to work to the best of its capability, then obviously this Trusteeship Council will come into play. Now, International Court of Justice, or another organ of the United Nations organization, where it is headquarters is which is known as the World Court. Okay. It is based in the Peace Plague in the Peace Palace in Hague, Netherlands. The ICJ was created by the international treaty, the status of the court, which forms an integral part of the United Nations Charter. So now the United Nations Charter was created, and then there was another creation of International Court of Justice, ICJ Charter, which was later on incorporated along with the United Nations Charter. So once we'll start understanding the United Nations Charter, you will see that from the start, in the beginning, you will find mentions of all the organs, and then there will be another article that will be starting and which will be representing International Court of Justice. So we are going to deal those things in detail in our upcoming lecture series. But as of now, for your better understanding, it is important to get a brief idea of these organs, like where their headquarters is, what is their main goal, what is their main task. That is what is the need of the hour. Now, moving forward, the number of judges, the ICJ is composed of 15 judges, okay, elected for a period of 9 years. So tenure 9 years, number of composition 15 years. Judges serve for 9-year terms and may be re-elected for up to 2 further terms. So there was a question that was put up in the CLAT examination, is that what is the maximum amount of time period a judge of ICJ can work? The answer will be still 9 years. The students got confused because when they studied that it can be re-elected up to 2 further terms, they thought that it will be 9 plus 9 plus 9. So there was an option of 27. They marked 27. The answer was wrong. The maximum tenure is 9 years, because you please need to understand one thing, that when the questions will be put up in front of you, you need to understand what exactly the question has been asked. Often what students do is they try to apply extra mind in the questions, and then they end up answering the wrong, no, choosing the wrong answer. But first you need to understand, if the question has been asked that what is the maximum amount of tenure till which an ICJ judge can work, it is still 9 years. If they have been re-elected, obviously it will be mentioned in your question that he was re-elected. Now, till what time period that person can serve as a judge? If that is the question, then obviously it would have been 27. But if this type of question has been asked, that what is the tenure for which the ICJ judge can work, it will be 9 years only. Let's move forward. Now, essential procedure, election procedure. The election is done by the United Nations General Assembly and the Security Council. Both of them are together from a list of persons nominated by the national groups in the Permanent Court of Arbitration. Okay. Elections every three years it will take. 1/3 of the judges retire, and each time in order to ensure continuity within the court. Now, this is extra factual information. You can just pause it and you can see that what exactly is mentioned here. Now, the status of precedents. In international law, precedents, customs, all treaties, etc., plays a very pivotal role in figuring out that what exactly should be or will be the laws that will be applicable over a particular situation. So here, when we talk about International Court of Justice, there is a lot of dependency and over the precedents. The law of precedents or stare decisis, okay, whereby a court relies upon its own prior decisions or the decisions of a judicial body superior to itself, does not apply in International Court of Justice, and the ICJ is not bound to follow what is laid down in its previous decision. However, the ICJ repeatedly cites principle it has developed in its previous case law in cases that comes before it subsequently. Although it has been mentioned like that, but if you talk about the serious note, still the precedents are being considered and they've been taken. But yes, it is true that it has only obligatory value, meaning which it is not compulsory that if the precedent says that you have to do the certain act, then in the present case also you have to do the certain act only. It can change according to the case to case, but yes, it has it is just have influential value, but it is not obligatory. It gives advisory opinion on legal matters to the bodies and special agencies of the United Nations and considers the legal matter that are brought up before them. All members of the United Nations are ipso facto parties. Ipso facto, what does ipso facto means? It is means by facts in itself. Meaning which, ipso facto means that by itself, the parties of the United Nations by default, or by default, will be the parties of the statute of the court. All questions are decided by the majority. The official language used in the courts are either French and English. Important point for discussion. The question will be that what will be the language that will be used in the court. So it can be either French or English. Now, another organ, that is the Secretariat. The Secretariat is composed of the Secretary General, who is the chief administrative officer of the organization. So it is the Secretariat who is going to manage how the United Nations or a General Assembly would look like, what are the establishment that is required, what will be the work of the Security Council, how the Security Council is going to be in session, what will be all the regulations, all the appointment, staff appointment, and everything will be done by the Secretariat itself. And an international staff appointed by him under regulations established by the General Assembly. However, the Secretary General, the highest commissioner for refugees, and the managing director of the funds are appointed by General Assembly itself. Okay. Now, International Criminal Tribunal of former Yugoslavia. This is also an important organization that was created, although not important, but you can just pause the video and you can read it out for a better understanding. Although not important, but yes, sometimes the question might be asked from this particular point also. Then International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda is another institute where which organization is talking about the same way of dealing with the problems. The order of the judges are there. Then this is extra information. Then International Criminal Court. International Criminal Court is that court which is dealing criminal offenses that will be happening either in the international borders or international seas or various areas. Okay, this specialized tribunal gave impetus to the formation of International Criminal Court, finally established in 2003. Recently, it has been established. The International Criminal Court brings to trial those who commit large-scale political crimes, genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity, and the crime of aggression. Although it cannot currently exercise jurisdiction over the crime of aggression, the ICC's first trial of Congolese militia leader Thomas Lubanga began on 26 January 2009. So this was the very first case. And on 24th November 2009, the second trial started. This is factual information, not necessary, but you need to understand what exactly is why exactly the International Criminal Court has been created. That has been already informed, and these are the other information that what exactly the International Criminal Courts are actually dealing with. This special tribunal for Cameroon is not important, for Lebanon is not important. These are famous international jurists, and the books authored by them. This obviously you can go through, important for you because that will be direct questions that will be put up. So you need to remember the legal regime of seabed in developing countries were written by R.P. Anand. New State and International, R.P. Anand. Okay, International Commodity Agreement, a legal study by B.S. Chimney. So these are important books and authors because questions might be there that what this book has been written by whom. Okay. Now, World Trade Organization. When we talk about World Trade Organization, this is another topic which is very important for you, very important, and that is what we will be discussing in our upcoming videos, which we will be talking about what exactly is the role of World Trade Organization, what is tariff barriers, what are the trade barriers, and how the World Trade Organization is ensuring that those barriers are removed. So I have completed the brief study and understanding of what exactly are the different organs of the United Nations, and we will be moving forward and we'll be studying about the World Trade Organization from upcoming lecture series. Till then, I would request you all to just focus over your preparation for your CLAT examination. I have just confined our lectures for this time period only because once we'll start the World Trade Organization, I don't want a mixture now getting confused between the World Trade Organization and the United Nations Organization, because United Nations Organization's work is to promote peace and security and welfare of the nations as such, and World Trade Organization is an organization that has been created for the trade within the nations. So there are two different aspects and two different frameworks over which both the organizations works. So we have just discussed the brief the discussions in regards to United Nations organizations, and most probably we will be trying to understand in detail through the discussions of United Nations Charter and International Court of Justice Charter. But before that, we will complete the World Trade Organization because it is not a very big, vast chapter. It is a small one and it will be completed in one lecture. And then we will be moving forward and resorting to the United Nations Organization's Charter. Post that, we will be discussing about the important case laws that has often been asked in your CLAT examination in regards to international law. There is a compilation of around 30 to 35 case laws which has been there and which has been repeatedly asked. So that will be helpful for you if you'll grasp that and if you understand it. Then if one or two questions will be there, then obviously it is almost free marks for you. With this, I would like to again thank you all for being present in this video, and I hope that your preparation is going well. And if you have any queries, any doubt whatsoever, you can obviously resort to this particular lecture series, which will be helpful for you in understanding and grasping the important informations as such. With this, I would like to thank you again. Till then, bye bye, guys. Take care and hope you have a good day.